Welcome to episode 105, Spotlight, Risk Assessment, focused on Control RA-3. Every organization faces more potential risks than it can address at once, which is why assessment must come before prioritization. Risk assessment provides the structured lens through which uncertainty becomes manageable. It identifies what matters most, where weaknesses exist, and how much exposure the organization can tolerate. Without assessment, efforts drift toward guesswork or fashionable fears rather than measurable priorities. A disciplined assessment transforms complexity into a clear hierarchy of action. It allows leaders to allocate time, funding, and attention where they will make the greatest difference in protecting mission success. Building from that foundation, a risk assessment begins by defining the assets, processes, and information types that matter to the organization. Assets include physical equipment, digital systems, and even people whose roles are essential to operations. Processes describe how these assets interact to deliver business outcomes. Information types define what data they handle: financial, personal, classified, or operational. For example, a payroll database represents both a system and a process involving sensitive personal information. Mapping these elements gives structure to the assessment. It sets boundaries for what is being evaluated and ensures that attention stays on components truly central to mission delivery. With scoring underway, analysts construct scenarios tied directly to mission outcomes. Scenarios describe realistic chains of events, showing how a risk could disrupt operations. They help decision-makers visualize consequences rather than simply read numbers. Imagine a scenario where credential theft leads to manipulation of financial systems, delaying payroll, and damaging employee trust. Linking risk to mission illustrates why action matters. It moves discussion from abstract probabilities to concrete business implications. Scenario thinking also improves communication between technical and non-technical audiences, ensuring everyone shares a common mental picture of what could go wrong and why it deserves attention. From these scenarios, assessment shifts to evaluating existing control effectiveness. Controls may be preventive, detective, or corrective, and their strength determines how much of the raw risk remains. A well-configured intrusion detection system, for instance, might sharply reduce likelihood, while strong encryption lowers potential impact. Evaluating controls means testing whether they work as intended under real conditions. Some controls appear strong on paper but weak in practice due to misconfiguration or outdated technology. Honest evaluation uncovers these gaps. It keeps the organization grounded in reality, recognizing that risk management depends not on assumptions but on verified capability. After evaluating controls, analysts determine residual risk, the portion that remains even after existing protections are applied. No control eliminates risk entirely, so understanding what persists is crucial. Residual risk highlights where attention must shift next. For example, even after patching software and tightening access, insider misuse may remain a significant threat. Documenting residual risk provides a foundation for governance, allowing leadership to decide whether remaining exposure is acceptable. It also informs budget requests and project priorities, connecting security investments directly to measurable risk reduction. Transparency about what remains is the hallmark of a mature assessment process. From there, risk treatments are proposed: mitigate, transfer, or accept. Mitigation means strengthening controls or changing processes to reduce likelihood or impact. Transfer shifts responsibility, often through insurance or vendor contracts. Acceptance acknowledges that the cost or complexity of further reduction outweighs potential harm. For example, a small research lab may accept minor downtime risk rather than invest in redundant infrastructure. Treatment decisions are not purely technical. They balance cost, mission, and tolerance. The assessment's purpose is to inform those decisions clearly, not to dictate them. Well-documented treatments transform analysis into action that aligns with organizational strategy. Ranking actions by value and urgency ensures that limited resources target the highest returns. Some risks deserve immediate attention because they threaten safety or compliance, while others can wait for the next budget cycle. Prioritization matrices often combine residual risk scores with business impact to show relative importance. For instance, a high likelihood, high impact risk rises to the top, while low likelihood, low impact items drop lower. Ranking also enables program managers to communicate priorities succinctly to executives. It converts technical evaluation into actionable roadmaps. When every risk competes for attention, clear ranking prevents paralysis and drives timely, meaningful progress. As assessments progress, documenting assumptions, sources, and uncertainties preserves credibility. Every estimate rests on imperfect information, and acknowledging that uncertainty builds trust. Analysts should note data sources, such as scans, interviews, or threat intelligence reports, and clarify where confidence is lower. For example, an assumption that all servers receive timely patches may not be fully verified. Recording these notes allows future assessments to adjust without restarting from scratch. It also shields the process from criticism by showing that conclusions were reasoned, not arbitrary. Transparency about what is known and what is not keeps assessments defensible and useful over time. The assessment must also include a defined review cadence and triggers for change. Technology, business operations, and threat landscapes evolve constantly, so yesterday's conclusions may no longer hold true. Many organizations schedule formal reviews annually or after major system changes. Triggers might include adoption of new software, mergers, or significant incidents. Regular review prevents outdated assumptions from guiding new decisions. It turns the assessment into a living process rather than a static document. Consistent reevaluation demonstrates that risk awareness is embedded into daily governance, ensuring relevance through change and continuity alike. Communicating findings clearly is as important as the analysis itself. Reports should explain risks in plain language, emphasizing business implications rather than technical jargon. Decision-makers need to grasp the "so what" behind each risk. What could happen, how likely it is, and what it would cost. Charts or summaries help visualize priorities without diluting accuracy. For example, presenting the top 10 residual risks by category can focus leadership discussions. Communication bridges the gap between security analysis and strategic choice. When findings are clear, leadership can make informed decisions with confidence instead of reacting from uncertainty. Metrics then track progress through measures like closure aging and movement across risk categories. Closure aging reflects how long identified risks remain unresolved, while movement shows whether exposures are reducing over time. A declining number of high-severity items signals improvement. Stagnant figures suggest deeper issues. Metrics provide feedback loops, turning risk assessment from a one-time task into continuous performance management. They allow leaders to see whether corrective actions are effective or need reinforcement. Quantifying progress keeps accountability visible and transforms assessment from theory into sustained operational maturity. In conclusion, effective risk assessment drives credible choices and rational prioritization. Control RA-3 emphasizes that decisions must rest on structured understanding, not intuition. By defining assets, scoring threats, and evaluating controls, organizations turn uncertainty into knowledge. Assessments illuminate trade-offs, allowing scarce resources to protect what truly matters. When repeated with honesty and discipline, they cultivate foresight, a quality that distinguishes proactive security from reactive defense. Ultimately, the measure of a strong risk program is not how many risks exist, but how thoughtfully each one is understood and addressed. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.